My youngest son, Harry, and please don't tell Ben or Emily this, but Harry is my favorite. He's different from all of us because he was a cesarean baby and came out happy. Who they are, really, of course, is the future. And I take the future very personally because of the nature of the future that we seem to be handing over to them. The lack of quality, the lack of rigor, and the huge amount of thoughtlessness. Who my children really are, of course, is all our children. And if you listen carefully, and every day it takes less and less effort to hear, you can hear the future pleading with us to help them. Now, each of our nations is unique and singular. I like to describe America's uniqueness like this. We are a nation bound only by ideas. We have no common ancestry, no common religion, no common class or caste system, no great military victory or crime to point to in the past. We are a nation held together by notions of individual civil liberty, freedom of expression, mobility, opportunity, and the chance, not the guarantee, of rising in this world. We are the first nation to declare war on a curse that has held mankind in bondage for 12,000 years, a curse that is so well known that every one of you knows it already. It is the curse that says, you and yours will never rise, you are a serf, and your grandchildren will be serfs. You are a farmer, and your grandchildren will be farmers, and my heel will always be on your neck. Until America said, wait a minute, if you can manage to get here, if you can survive the journey, if you are hardworking, if you are talented, if you are lucky, if you can take the crap that life throws at all of us, you might rise. And that one word change is the most important political message in 12,000 years of human civilization. The whole world knows this. That's why they come here. That's why they have always come here, will come here always. The only ones who no longer understand us is us, ourselves. We are the actualization of the values of Western Enlightenment. And the Bill of Rights, for instance, is not just a document outlining our values, but they are a clear picture of the goal of our moral character. 6 guys sat down at a table and wrote out, this is who we wish to be. The Bill of Rights says, or proclaims, that we will put this up on a wall so that everyone on earth can see every time we fail and every time we succeed. It is the most naive, the most courageous political gesture in history. It is the perfect American gesture because we hold ourselves up to our own future and our own future moral character. Reputation is what the world thinks of us. Character is what God thinks of us. We've given gifts to mankind, without which the world would be a very, very different and much darker place, because the Constitution, the Declaration, and the Bill of Rights are representatives of the light, of reason over faith, intelligence over stupidity, thoughtfulness over zealotry, and that darkness never dies. It just waits. And now, when we need those values taught more critically than at any other time in our history, we do not teach those ideas to our young. And so, we give to our young one reason for loving their country, and that is that we are north of Mexico and south of Canada. And those are not good enough reasons. The United States of America is a nation that has stood for something important to the whole world. It is a nation of meaning, but it is fast becoming simply a nation. And that nation is fast becoming known only for bloodletting and selfishness, because we do not teach those tools of civic expertise that allow our country to be run with the confidence and wisdom and maturity that all sovereigns were trained to. Aristotle taught Alexander, and the Chinese scholars and the women of the Mongol Empire taught the Mongols. We are the only system of governance, the only sovereign in history without a tutor, unless you include Rupert Murdoch, and that's not good enough. The most complex, the most difficult of all systems is democracy, because it is the only one that requires the involvement of an informed civic body. And we teach our future sovereigns less and less every day of all those tools that are necessary. And until we teach them, unless we teach them, and teach them again, and then teach them again, and then teach them again with rigor and pleasure, they don't exist. They are the tree that falls in the forest. And when we wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and hell has arrived at our door, and there's no one in this room who believes that the next 9 decades of this century will be a Fred Astaire movie, we know we're in trouble. We're not prepared. We're not preparing our children. We don't teach them to rely on civics, to rely on democracy, and we don't even teach them shop or domestic science. We are abandoning our children at a rate faster than the crew abandoned the Titanic. We have less foundation to stand on, which means that good men wake up in the middle of the night and do evil things without knowing it, because they do not know the foundation that we stand on and what we represent. What is it that we should be teaching? Reason, logic, clarity of thought, critical analysis, honesty, the values of dissent, debate, and civility. When incivility is the norm, and yelling and screaming and interrupting and patronizing your political opponent is the norm, that is not sharing anything. And if you don't exemplify the other, that's all you've got. And if that's all we've got, we're doomed. I am saying this to an audience who I assume are not all Americans, because I firmly believe that American school kids being expert at their own system is an international issue, critical and urgent. The world wants adults running America. We are too powerful, economically and militarily, to leave the USA to willful, ignorant children, too immature to learn, and too certain to understand the wisdom of uncertainty, which is the beginning of wisdom. I want adults in office, and I want that to be taken for granted. There's one word I want to leave you with, and it's a word not usually associated with politics, but politics is, of course, the profession that tries to teach man how to live with man. It is the secular arm of faith. My son has been a zealous pro-Zionist and a zealous pro-Palestinian. And he has been learned, and he knows all the details. And one day he was pointing to me to a particular massacre that one side or the other had perpetrated. And I said, Ben, this shows God's sense of humor, and it is God's greatest test, because this one cannot be solved without forgiveness. We must forgive them, whoever they are, and we must forgive ourselves. There is no original sin in the Middle East. There is no original sin. We have all sinned. And you know that because this thing is called for reconciliation. We have to grow up and know that for every sin committed against our blood, we commit sin back. And we must stop that cycle and learn that forgiveness is not a word of faith, it is a word of practical politics. Thank you.